I think it's just becoming abundantly more clear that Anthony Edwards and the Minnesota Timberwolves will never win a championship if they remain currently constructed. Allow me to explain. What's going on, guys? BoxInOne here, a basketball podcast created by Roischand and Joachim, myself, the one talking right now. First of all, day one of the NBA playoffs of recording this video, Saturday, April 18th. Currently, we've got the Atlanta Hawks taking on the New York Knicks in MSG. Brunson's going crazy. I believe he's 6 or 7 from the field right now. No pun intended, but 6, 7, 6, 7. Okay, let me. But Jalen Brunson's hooping, Jalen Johnson is hooping. It's going to be a battle of the Jalens. I hope that series personally goes 6 or 7 games, no pun intended, just because of the rivalry between the Atlanta Hawks and the New York Knicks. That has really been a thing in the NBA since 2021. The Cleveland Cavaliers took business at home against the Toronto Raptors. Scottie Barnes started off crazy, 9 points and 2 steals in the first quarter. Jamal Shed was hitting shots. But Donovan Mitchell, 32 points. They just proved to be way too much. And it's something about James Harden and how he really utilizes the bigs of Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, but the bigs of the Cleveland Cavaliers in general. He has them boys activated. It's just a different level of synergy in the pick and roll, in finding them in the post. Jared Allen started the game catching 3 bodies on 2 dunks. Great stuff from Cleveland. But I want to talk about the second game of today, the 12:30 matchup between the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Denver Nuggets, the number 3 versus the number 6 seed. Now, the last time these two were in a playoff series, the Minnesota Timberwolves completed a 19-point comeback on the road in Game 7, the biggest Game 7 comeback in NBA history, I believe, and beat the defending champs in 7 games, 95-88. Rudy Gobert fader. We all know that iconic shot. But now we're in a different year. But again, these two teams match up. The thing that made the Minnesota Timberwolves so dangerous when they played Nikola Jokic last time was the switchability, right? You had Cat, you had Naz Reid, you had McDaniels, you had Gobert. You essentially had 4 bodies that you could constantly throw on Nikola Jokic at any given time. Looking at the Oklahoma City Thunder series from last season, right, where you had Chet, you had Caruso, you had Dort, you had Jalen Williams, you had 3 to 4 bodies that you could throw on Nikola Jokic. That's very important when it comes to slowing him down. He was still slowed down. I think that Rudy Gobert did a good enough job as he possibly could have on Nikola Jokic as a primary defender. Still a 23-point triple-double, but the shooting splits were not the best, and Jokic definitely was noticeably slowed down. But that's not even really the issue I want to talk about. The issue is that the Minnesota Timberwolves do not have a PG. When you have a guy in Anthony Edwards who today is now the franchise leader in playoff assists for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Why is a shooting guard leading that? And I understand, right? The last time Minnesota was really this relevant in the playoffs pre-Jimmy Butler was Kevin Garnett, where Kevin Garnett was doing absolutely everything as a point forward, and he was going to war with guys like Kobe, Tim Duncan. It was very hard for Kevin Garnett to really get any type of substantial playoff success. I mean, Kevin Garnett was playing so good. He was getting Sam Cassell MVP votes, right? So we have to keep that in mind. But the issue with the Minnesota Timberwolves is simple. You don't have a clear number 2, and you don't have a point guard. And this has always been the issue with the Minnesota Timberwolves as soon as they were seeing deep playoff success. When we look back to that OKC series, what happened? Oh my goodness. We don't have a number 2 option. We had Julius Randle hooping against the Golden State Warriors, and then after that, he disappeared. Julius Randle was one of the biggest issues with this Minnesota Timberwolves team. The shot making, or should I say, the shot choices I see from this Minnesota Timberwolves, and specifically Anthony Edwards. It's numerous problems with Anthony Edwards, right? I think he's a great player. I think he's the future of American basketball alongside guys like Flag, etc. But when we see a guy who already has one knee, I'm not going to hold his lack of explosiveness against him. But because you know that, why are you still taking the same shots you would if you had that right knee working? I don't get it. Going back to Julius Randle, again, the shot selection Julius Randle has as somebody who should just be posting up on the left side is absolutely egregious. It's egregious. Every single possession for Minnesota tonight, it looked tough. It looked like a struggle. It didn't look like sets were being ran. It looked like do him cuz isolation ball. Hopefully Ant cooks. If not, DiVincenzo, you gon' bang out from 3. Naz Reid didn't really have that much of an imprint on the game. And then the point guard thing is the most glaring issue. You have Bones Highland and Mike Conley as your point guards and maybe best ball handlers outside of Anthony Edwards going into the playoffs. I don't understand why you don't attack a point guard. I don't understand why you don't try to land a Kobe White. Well, we're trying to get Giannis. Well, Giannis with no facilitating point guard, we've already seen how that works in Milwaukee with Damian Lillard. Spoiler, it didn't work. You have a guy in Anthony Edwards who doesn't get the chance to truly play the two. Let's look at all the other elite twos in the NBA. Now, Jaylen Brown, he's a tweener between 2 and 3. He's more of a 3, but you still have Peyton Pritchard and Derek White. You have point guards who can set you up. You also have Jason Tatum being one of the best facilitating forwards in the league that can set you up as well when you don't have the ball in your hands. We look at Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, a tweener between a 1 and a 2, right? He has guys like Cason Wallace. He has guys like Mitchell, Isaiah Joe, etc. Guys who can also handle the ball. And on top of that, Shai's team is so well oiled and put together that he has the freedom to kind of play a facilitator and also be the primary scorer because everybody just knows where to be at all times. When we look at Devin Booker, they got him Gillespie, Jalen Green. He has guys that can play the point guard position either as a scorer but also sometimes facilitate. When we look at every other guy in the league, Donovan Mitchell, another elite shooting guard. He got Darius Garland and now he has James Harden. All of these guys have the ability and the luxury to play the two freely without worrying about where the facilitation is going to come from or worrying about where the actual ball movement is going to stem from beyond themselves. The Minnesota Timberwolves still have not set up Anthony Edwards in that regard. I understand you got AO. You could have got Kobe White, but you tried to save space for Giannis. Did not work out. You could have got Drew Holiday when he first got sent to Portland in 2024 after that Boston Celtics, 2025, after that Boston Celtics team had to dismantle. You could have got so many great point guards for Anthony Edwards to build with and build around and build that chemistry. You could have tried to make a play for James Harden when he requested a trade from the Los Angeles Clippers this season, and you didn't pull the trigger on any of those guys, and I don't understand why. Jaden McDaniels, I know they have Jaden McDaniels and not KD, but Jaden McDaniels is not your true number 2. You can't be in a conference as stacked as the Western Conference and not at least have a true number 2 or enough role players to the point where it's like, all right, these guys know what to do and they know how to do it very well. 3-and-D, defend, lock up, facilitate, our benches deep. Minnesota has none of that. They don't have any of that. The Minnesota Timberwolves, for what it's worth, have gotten this far because of the greatness of Anthony Edwards, but it's very clear that they can get close. I mean, it was a 2-point game at one point, but they don't have a guy who's a floor manager that can slow down the game and control the pace when guys like Aaron Gordon start heating up, when Jamal Murray was in his bag again in the fourth. There can't be a guy that's like, okay, I'm going to get somebody set up here. I'm going to stop the bleeding, stop this run, and get us back into the game. When Denver went on that 14-0 run, it was a very forced Jaden McDaniels layup that stopped the run, and then he shoved Nikola Jokic after, right? It's just things mentally. I'm not going to say there's no leader on the team, but there's nobody who's a game manager on this team. And because of that, the Minnesota Timberwolves, they're going to keep making it to the playoffs, and they're going to keep running into the walls of Jokic, of Wemby, of Shai, and they're going to come up short every single time. Now, I understand between Memphis and Minnesota, those two teams could be moved to the NBA's Eastern Conference. I think that could be good. I think just because of how the East is a little easier right now to get by, the Minnesota Timberwolves can maybe make a deep run. But even still, when we look at next season, you've got teams in the lottery right now like Washington who could get Cameron Boozer or Caleb Wilson or AJ DeBansta on top of Trae Young, Trey Johnson, Keyshawn George, Anthony Davis, Alexar. I mean, the Washington Wizards, we're going to push propaganda about them a little bit later on the channel during the playoffs, so I'm not going to get too excited about that. But even still, you've got the Boston Celtics. You've got the Pacers with a potential lottery pick, plus getting Zubac and Tyrese back. I mean, you have so many teams. You've got the Pistons doing great things, the Knicks, the Hawks. You have so many teams that are now finding their stride and their rhythm. Even though the Charlotte Hornets had a very disappointing end to their season, you still have a team like the Charlotte Hornets who can make it to a playing tournament and go above 500. You have all of these teams in the East now that have youth and have other stars, and they all have point guards and facilitators. So again, even if you do go to the NBA's Eastern Conference, those same issues are still going to present themselves. And I'm looking at the Minnesota Timberwolves like, look, Anthony Edwards, you got to demand a point guard and demand some more role players and some help and some better front office management. And in my opinion, maybe get rid of Chris Finch, or you got to go somewhere else, because as this Minnesota Timberwolves team is currently constructed, I never see them winning an NBA championship in this era. With that being said, though, guys, that is going to do it for us today. Again, NBA playoffs are back. Daily uploads on the channel are back. Can't wait to go with this journey again with you guys. We covered the last playoff stint as well. But again, as always, if you enjoyed the content, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Follow all of these socials in the description: the TikTok, the Instagram, the Twitter, the Threads. Wherever you get your hoops content, we're there. And until then, we will see you all in the next one.